This is how a first date turned into a nightmare. It started recently, at a packed house party in my freshman year of college. The music was loud and shitty, but the drinks were flowing freely. At some point, I found myself talking to this girl named Maddie. We were both sloshed and could barely hear each other, but then her friends ran off, leaving us alone. Without a second thought, she grabbed my hand and dragged me into a random bedroom. I had no idea who it belonged to, but I didn't care, as the next thing I knew, we were making out on the bed. Before we could take our clothes off and truly desecrate this stranger's bed, either they or the roommate barged in on us, started screaming at us, and chased us out of the house. In the chaos, I lost Maddie, but I'd already gotten her Instagram, so I knew I could find her. I was so drunk and deluded that I thought I'd found a modern-day Cinderella. That's corny as hell, I know. But believe me, I paid the price when I texted her that night saying I couldn't wait to see her again. 2 days later, I met Maddie at a kava bar and began regretting every decision I had made in the previous 72 hours. With a clear head, I quickly realized that Maddie was annoying, crazy, and not nearly cute enough to make up for it. The worst part was, she was already obsessed with me. For several hours, Maddie got absolutely wasted on Kratom and talked my ear off, while I sat there, bored, with no buzz. She then asked me to drive her home, which I pretty much had to. But then outside her apartment, she begged me to go inside with her. I knew whatever would happen between us in there wouldn't be good for her or look good on me, and I wasn't about to be that kind of guy. However, I wasn't exactly a gentleman either. I was so sick of her that I just yelled mean things at her until she got out of my car. Not my best moment, I know, but again, I paid the price. That night I blocked Maddie, thinking I could just forget about her. It almost worked, but then I started seeing her around campus, just passing glances, though I was getting suspicious that she was following me. One day, I happened to be home alone at the big old house I'm renting with a handful of other guys. I was starting my day sometime around noon, eating cereal in the kitchen, when out of nowhere, the doorbell rang. Wondering who the hell it could be, I put a shirt on and opened the door. Nobody was there. But on the doorstep, there was a cocktail napkin weighed down by a piece of gravel from the driveway. The napkin had a note that said, "You forgot something," and next to it sat a mangled coffee stirrer. It took me a minute to realize what I was looking at. But then I reached into my memory and remembered the exact shape of that little stick and how it came to be that way. It was from my date with Maddie at the kava bar. I was so bored that I'd been chewing on that stir stick that came with my drink long after I finished drinking that nasty shit. Why had she kept it? What was she doing with it for the past week? I didn't care to find out, but I knew she was probably still watching me from somewhere. So I flipped a middle finger to the sky, tossed the garbage into the yard, then went back inside. It bothered me that she knew where I lived, especially because I had no clue how she figured it out, other than she must have followed me all the way from class. To make matters worse, the house was far from secure. After hosting decades of college parties, the place was a wreck. There were probably a dozen ways in I didn't even know about, and I just had to hope Maddie wasn't resourceful enough to find a way in. Once again, I tried to ignore the situation until she found something better to do, but time only proved what kind of psycho I had on my hands. The next day, I was in an afternoon class. In the middle of the lecture, I felt my phone vibrate. I would have ignored it, but I just had this terrible feeling something was wrong. I was right. A random Instagram account texted me, "I know you're in class, but you should see this." Obviously, my first thought was Maddie. But what did she want me to see? The second link loaded in and I saw the video. My heart sank. It was me, naked in my bathroom, taking care of business on the toilet. I'm sure you can understand it was a bit more private than taking a piss. In that moment, whatever I was learning in class ceased to matter. I stood up and excused myself, leaving right away to go home and find the hidden camera. Inside the bathroom that I shared with my two roommates, I searched all over the cluttered mess that surrounded the sink. There were razors, toothbrushes, various tubes of creams and pastes, 5 different sticks of deodorant, and 10 empty vapes. But among the madness, a single nondescript Bluetooth speaker. It didn't belong to me, nor did I recognize it as anyone else's. It was in just the right spot to watch the toilet and the shower, and once I held a light up to it, I saw the hidden lens. Almost as soon as I discovered it, the same Instagram account messaged me again, telling me I had done a good job. But they had more footage of me and everyone else who used the bathroom, doing everything from washing their ass to snorting lines. If I told anyone about it, they would send it all to the local Barstool page. My head was spinning. Maddie had been in the house. She snuck in, planted the camera, and left without anyone noticing. It could have been when we were all sleeping, or when nobody was home, but either way, this was proof how far she was willing to go. I finally broke down. I begged and apologized to her new account, saying I would do anything to keep her from going public. I just wanted it to end. I waited for hours, but she never responded. When my roommates got home, I debated telling them about it, but in the end, I shut myself in my room and hid from them. I laid in bed with the hidden camera stuffed in a shoebox by my bedside, thinking of what else I could do. Slowly, the night wore on. Everyone either left for a party or went to sleep for class in the morning, leaving me the only person still awake. At last, my phone buzzed again. It was Maddie, from the new account. All she said was, "Can I come out now?" I didn't know what she meant, but then another message came through. A picture. Most of it was black, but a thin vertical bar of visibility ran down the center. In it, I could see the foot of my bed, with the lights on just like they were, right then and there. She was hiding in my closet. She had been in there all night. I panicked. I ran out of the bedroom and went down the hall to my roommate. I barged in and locked the door behind me. As he woke up and started yelling at me to get out, I told him to call the police because someone had broken into our house. I didn't tell him it was Maddie. I was worried he wouldn't understand the threat if he knew it was a girl. Thankfully, he listened, but by the time the cops arrived, Maddie was gone. She slipped away like the snake she is. When I told the cops what had been happening, they asked if Maddie had some way of tracking me. I couldn't think of anything that night, but the next day, I searched everywhere until I finally found it. There was an AirTag underneath my passenger seat. She must have slipped it in there while I drove her home on our first date. That means she's been stalking me from the start. Ever since then, I've been waiting for the day she releases everything she has on me and my roommates as retaliation for calling the cops on her. But it's yet to happen. Not that it comforts me much, though. It just makes me think she isn't done with me yet.